What happens when a narcissist doesn't get what they want? Did you know that a recent study found out that one of the most significant and painful complications of narcissism and narcissistic personality disorder is that it makes the people around them suffer? It's true. That's why we're talking about this today at queenbeing.com. What happens when a narcissist doesn't get what they want? Here we go. Let's get started. My name is Angie Atkinson, and on this channel I offer free daily video coaching to help you discover, understand, and overcome narcissistic abuse and toxic relationships. Does that sound good to you? If so, hit that subscribe button and let's get going. You know what happens, right? You make plans to go to some event, or you want to remodel the house or something crazy, and suddenly everything's going wrong. Now, if you're dealing with a normal person who is not a narcissist or someone with narcissistic personality disorder, what you're going to do is you're going to either have an emotional reaction or a solution-focused reaction. Or if you're like me, maybe you'll have an emotional reaction followed by a solution-focused reaction, right? But the way that narcissists cope is different, and that's what we're going to talk about in this video. So you've got the hours of planning that go into it. You've got the time, the energy, all that stuff wasted. Part of dealing with all of that involves dealing with that feeling in the pit of your stomach that you get when you're overwhelmed and stressed out. So let's just say that you're going to go to California and you're going to meet your college friend for some big event, right? So you've got your plane tickets, you've got your travel arrangements, your hotel's all set up, everything's ready to go, and you're going to arrive in plenty of time to get unpacked, take a shower, and get dolled up before you go to your event, right? Well, then something happens, and let's say that your plane gets canceled, or like when I went to California last year, for example, our plane got canceled. And then we had to reschedule the flight. Well, originally we were supposed to be there in plenty of time, so that we'd have time to get there and get relaxed and do all the things and then go to our first event that we were attending. Well, the night before, we were all packed and ready to go, and we got a phone call from the airline that our flight had been canceled. And we didn't even buy the flight. The flight was bought for us by the people who flew us out. So then we had to get in touch with the people. We had to do all these things. Everything was dramatic and terrible. Certainly, we responded initially by going, oh my gosh, this is terrible. How are we going to deal with this? We don't know what to do. Everything's against us. Well, we didn't think exactly that. But, those types of thoughts came around, and that's pretty normal. But what's also normal is to take a deep breath and go, okay, let's fix this problem. And then we did. We made the phone calls. We did all the things we needed to do, and we eventually got there, and everything worked out just fine. If at that time we had retreated and just not dealt with it, we wouldn't have been able to go on the trip, and we wouldn't have had the help that we needed. So in that case, our emotion-based behavior or reaction was the initial freak out that we had, and our solution-focused reaction was the one where we called all the people and got all the things figured out, right? Okay. Well, there are certain people in the world, such as me and you probably, who are sensitive to changes, and we're ready to make changes as needed, okay? Even if we don't like it, we still do it because we know how it is. We can't control it, right? Even though we felt uncomfortable, even though we felt anxious and nervous about the changes, we still made the changes necessary. There were things that we could do to change the situation, and so we did those things. Well, how narcissists deal is a whole other ball of wax. You probably already know that narcissists sometimes, when they don't get their way, go a little bit nuts. They kind of get real anxious and mad and freak out on everybody around them, and very often take out their anger and frustration on the narcissistic supply closest to them. I mean, and it makes sense if you think about it, because one of the biggest hallmarks of narcissism in the clinical sense, in the sense of being narcissistic personality disordered, is the sense of entitlement that they have. It's outrageous and above and beyond your average sense of entitlement. When things don't work out their way, they are more likely to rage. They are more likely to lash out at anyone in their path, and especially at people who they can identify in their mind as someone who has kind of stopped them from reaching whatever goal they were going for. Obviously, getting very angry and upset and aggressive when something doesn't go your way falls right into the category of emotion-based coping. So it doesn't really accomplish anything, well, except for maybe annoying people, and maybe temporarily helping the narcissist feel a little better. But here's something that maybe you didn't think about. Sometimes the narcissist is very sensitive to whatever it is that someone else thinks about them, especially when it's not someone close to them. They don't want to appear to be crazy to the airline attendant or to the person they work with or someone else who isn't inside their little circle of supply, right? But here's the thing, there are two different types of narcissists to consider in this whole deal. So you've got your grandiose type of narcissist, the one that I call kind of overt, the more obvious out there narcissist. That narcissist has a real high sense of self-esteem and self-importance, and therefore they may be more careful about how they respond outside of the relationship. But when they don't get what they want, say they expect plane tickets to be a certain time, a certain way. When they don't get what they want in that case, they are more likely to be kind to the person who calls and says your plane's canceled than they are to be to their supply. Most likely what they will do is they will take out their rage and stuff on their supply. Then you've got your vulnerable narcissist, and they are more often the type who are at the other end of that spectrum. Their self-esteem is going to be more obviously low. They're going to be the type that's, I hate myself, I'm not good enough, la la la. And so their overall levels of adaptation, as it were, the way that they will deal with change is going to be different. They're going to overcompensate. They're going to cover up their feelings. Now, again, this will be less the case with the supply. In either case, it doesn't really matter. How are they going to deal with not getting what they want? They're going to rage at some point, narcissists in general, or display narcissistic injury. But in either case, there is a possibility that they may not rage at the stranger involved. They're going to be more likely to rage at someone close to them, whether or not they're involved with the actual thing. Now, if you're dealing with a more overt narcissist, they're going to be more likely to rage at the person on the phone, whereas the covert or vulnerable narcissist will be more likely to be like, oh, poor me, on the phone, and then rage at the supply outside of that situation. So in 2014, a study at the University of Hong Kong actually looked at this, and they looked at two different types of narcissists. They looked at the pathological narcissist, which is the one that we talk about here, and then they looked at someone who just had really high self-esteem and was high functioning, and a normal person maybe who took a couple extra selfies. The first thing to note about the study is that it did not involve clinical populations, but with that being said, the fact of the matter is we all know that a large percentage of narcissists are not actually diagnosed. Okay, there's that. What it turns out is the higher someone's self-esteem is, the more flexibility they'll have when it comes to dealing with not getting what they want. Whereas when their self-esteem is lower on the other end of the spectrum, it involves less flexibility, lower self-esteem, and lower life satisfaction, higher perceived stress. So the narcissist will feel like they have more stress in any given situation, such as the missing plane ticket or the changed flight, than they will if they are not a narcissist. So those who are classified as healthy narcissists, which is a large percentage of the population, had a higher ability to deal with stress. Now, if you're the person who doesn't give the narcissist what they want, it's a little different. What'll happen is obviously the same stuff, narcissistic rage and narcissistic injury, right? But the narcissist will label you, or whoever has displeased them, as someone who is less than or inferior to the narcissist. Then they use this label to sort of distance themselves from the person who disappointed them and give themselves a reason to no longer think about what they have perceived as rejection by the airline or whoever disappointed them. If you disappointed them in some way or you didn't do what they wanted, they will consider you rejecting them, even though that wasn't the case. They will consider that you rejected them, even though you simply just didn't give them what they wanted. Now, if you don't react well enough to being ignored or given the silent treatment or being treated like you're inferior, the narcissist may then go and try to take revenge on you. And this is also the case when they're dealing with someone such as the airline, as we mentioned. It's very common for the narcissist to treat someone that they know and claim to love really badly just to prove that that person isn't important to them. Something to think about. This brings me to the question of the day. Have you ever dealt with not giving a narcissist what they wanted, or being the reason that a narcissist didn't get what they want? Or have you been in a relationship with a narcissist who didn't get what they want and took it out on you? Share your thoughts and your opinions in the comments below and your experiences, and let's talk about it. All right? That's all I've got for you today. Thanks so much for being a part of my day and a part of my life. And hey, thanks for letting me be a part of yours. It really does mean a lot to me. I'll see you soon. It's my mission to teach others what I know to be true. You really can create the life you want. Take care of your body, take care of your soul, nurture the real you, and introduce him or her to the world. Be comfortable in your own skin and in your place in this world. Take your spot, take it now, and the universe will take its cue from you. You feel me? If so, subscribe to my channel. Let's get it done together.